Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Mid-Atlantic CCDC competition. We've got lots of great stuff going on in this segment. We've got lots of guests, so I'd like to introduce my first guest, Tenable's CEO and CTO, Ron Gula. Welcome, Ron.
Hey, Paul, how's it going?
It's going very well.
Glad to be here.
Glad you were able to attend the event today. It's been great fun. So why don't you just start out and tell our listeners and viewers about what Tenable Network Security is and what you do.
Sounds good. So Tenable Network Security is we're a company based here in Maryland, just Columbia, right up the road from APL. We make the Nessus vulnerability scanner. We also make a variety of products that do passive network discovery and log analysis. Try to combine all that together so we can find guys like the red team over here on your networks.
Excellent. Now, you spent some time today with the blue teams helping them install Nessus, and I was saying earlier how the red teams use Nessus to find vulnerabilities so they can exploit them. Blue teams use it to find vulnerabilities and be able to fix them. So you helped the blue teams do that. I'm curious to see what experiences you had there.
Absolutely. It's very interesting because I really like this event because you get a lot of real world experience, and there's nothing like having to install any piece of software, even something as simple to install as Nessus. In an environment like this, it takes a longer time, right? You got to coordinate things. I felt bad. One of the teams we helped get it installed, they were just copying the activation code over to a USB stick. They didn't copy all the way or anything like that. But then, they get frustrated because it's installed, they go to scan. And I really felt bad for one of the students because the scans just weren't working. I was thinking maybe there's something wrong. But we looked down and the network cable is actually unplugged. So, very, very interesting.
Power and network, very important.
That's right.
So, that's great. Yeah. You've also done some of these events in the past and used the Tenable's monitoring software to monitor the network as well. What were some of the results from that?
Well, it's really cool because when you can actually get on the actual machines, you can see what all the work that the red team's doing. You can actually kind of see that thing. So if you overhear the red team talking about, oh, we replaced, bin false with bash, or we removed this deal. We actually have logs of stuff like that, and it's really kind of cool to take that kind of data, visualize it in 3D, replay it over time. It was very, very interesting to see all the different techniques and try to fingerprint maybe which of the red team was actually really, really doing most of the exploitation, which ones are kind of just, doing the different kind of tasks like maintaining access and reverse shells and whatnot. So very, very exciting stuff.
Now, this being a real-world event with hands-on kind of things going on, you're looking at it from a recruiting perspective?
Absolutely.
And what's the benefit of some of the real-world stuff with respects to recruiting and maybe some of the things that Tenable is looking for? Knowing that I work for Tenable full-time, of course, we're looking to hire people, so.
Absolutely. So we were able to gather about 25, 30 really good resumes. And the thing I like about this event is, anybody who's going to take the time to go to any one of the great schools that are here, it's really good, they're investing that. But you can only learn so much, in an academic type of environment. You can only learn so much from the knowledge of an instructor who's been around a little bit. Doing it for real, doing it, in the heat of the moment, but that's experience. And somebody who wins at that, somebody who can manage a team at that, they're going to be able to know the difference between maybe an exploit that is politically a big problem for them, something that might not be a big problem. So whether you're in IT security, you're doing vulnerability research, you're just trying to lead trying to do good policy for your company, the experiences they learn here really gives them that edge to make the correct decisions.
Yep. So also the time the teams put in to prepare is often extra credit, I'm finding. So the students that you have here today, not only are getting a real world hands-on experience, but also they're putting in some extra time.
Yeah.
So it really seems to be the cream of the crop.
And if you're watching this and you're somebody who's been in the industry, 10, 5, 20 years, even just 3 years or whatever, if you can get with one of these teams and help them prepare, that's really going to not only help the teams prepare and do well, it's going to help us as a nation just kind of share the kind of information that we need in order to keep whatever you're doing, a university, a bank, a government agency, keep it more secure.
Excellent. So, Ron, thank you very much, and thanks for coming down today. It was good seeing you, as
always. Good seeing you. Thank you a lot.
Take care. Now we're going to go to John in the red team area where he is, I'm told, sitting on someone's lap. Is that correct? No? Oh. Getting friendly with the red team.
What's that? Sitting on someone's lap. Oh, geez. All right. So hi, John Strand from the red team area. I'm sitting here interviewing Jeff, who is currently in the lead for the points on the red team. He's on the data exfiltration portion of the team, and I think that it shows a little bit that you guys aren't all against each other. Really, you guys have broken up roles and responsibilities, correct?
Right. So we're working as a pretty good team. We have guys that are working for just gaining access. We have guys that are just maintaining access. We have guys that are just going after web. And so my job is post-exploitation is to go in and figure out how to grab the data, what access we need, and assign people to go get that access. And so we've been really successful. We've got almost every database, and we stole a lot of the file flags from earlier. And so right now we have 15% of the flags, and that's not including all the database files that we just stole.
Now, I was looking at your computer system, and it looked like you had about 8 to 10 different databases that you've dumped on your computer system. Do the percentages and the scores that you have so far include that data yet, or not quite yet?
Very, very few of those databases are included.
So you still have a lot of parsing data exfil to actually get to the point where you can actually use it.
So some of those databases we had to go through pivots to get, and so it took a long time for us to get them, but we just captured the whole database. I didn't have time to look through the databases to figure out where the data was I needed. And so now that I have the dumps, I have to rebuild the databases and find the data inside of it and then report that.
So what database technology are they using predominantly here at CCDC 2012?
It's a bunch of MySQL databases.
Really? They're kind of sticking with MySQL?
Yep.
And is that with a PHP front end for most of it then?
Yes.
Cool. So how much of the access has been directly through the PHP front end, or are you working with existing shells that the team has already given you?
So we have shells in the boxes, and I've gotten the passwords for the databases from looking at the PHP code on the boxes.
So the MySQL databases can communicate with you? Because usually, by default, MySQL, you can only talk to local 127.0.0.1 for many of the newer versions. So is that opened up that you can log in directly to these?
So I think originally it was. Some of the teams have locked it down, which is why we had to go through a pivot earlier. But in a lot of cases, it's still open, and it's still using the original passwords.
Oh my. So what are there any specific modules that you like to use, for example, in the Metasploit framework to enumerate MySQL databases and pull information out and figure out who you can talk to?
I've been doing it all manually.
You've been doing it manually? Very cool. So whenever you're doing it manually, what type of scripting do you like to work with?
I've just been using MySQL dump and just dumping it to a file and then transferring the file over via SCP.
Very cool.
So.
Very, very cool. Well, thank you very much for coming. We'll check up with you here shortly because I think that it's going to get very interesting within the next hour or so.
Definitely.
Like I said, he's sitting on like 8 to 10 databases of flags that have yet to be picked through. So thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. And Paul, we're going to throw it back up to you.
Thanks, John. Now, John told me that this morning he took a sizable MySQL dump. I'm not sure what he meant by that, but that's what he said. So we're here with Dwayne Williams, the director of the National CCDC competition. Dwayne, welcome to the show.
Thanks very much. Glad to be here.
So, Dwayne, what is your role in the National CCDC competition?
I help manage the overall program, coordinate between the regional coordinators. We have 10 regions that occur throughout the country. So this month of March, we've got 10 of these events that are happening in different parts of the country. At the end of that, we'll take the 10 winners, bring them down to the national championship event, which I run in San Antonio, Texas.
Excellent, excellent. So before the show, you were giving me some of the history, and I've been involved with this event for 4 years. So it's been running for 7 years.
That's correct.
And we've noticed this tremendous growth path. So I'm curious to see, kind of how it started and how we got here where we are today.
Sure. CCDC's been around for actually 8 years. We had the first pilot event in 2005. We had 5 schools there in Texas to take a look at the model to see if it would even work. Worked really well. The next year we decided to go national with it. We had 4 regional competitions, about 24 schools, and we've seen 25 to 26% growth every year since then. So now we're at the point we have 10 regional events. A lot of the regions have qualifying events. We'll have over 120 schools. We have representation.
There's 120 schools now?
There's 120 schools in the program. All the way from.
How many students does that roughly?
There's 8 per team, so you're looking at, depend on the school. Some have 8 to 12 on each roster, so 120 to do the math. You can see the numbers that we have.
That's awesome.
And it's every state in the union, so even Alaska and Hawaii get to play.
That's awesome. And all that it requires is your school submit a team. It doesn't.
That's
you don't
correct.
have to be. I thought you had to be a computer security program. To submit a team.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
There's no requirement other than you need to be a 2 or 4 year institution. Team size is 8. You can have 6 undergrads, 2 graduates. You do not have to have a dedicated computer security program. Matter of fact, that's one of the things we like to see is those kids coming from those schools, because this is a great educational opportunity. They can pick up a lot of really good information and skills in this sort of venue, preparing for it, competing in it, getting the after action.
Now, 4 years ago when I first got into the competition, I told people, hey, I was doing this thing called CCDC, and everyone was like, well, what is that? Then the next year when I said I was doing it, I was on Twitter and people were like, oh yeah, I know what that is. And then, fast forward to this year, and so many more people like, oh, I competed in a region and I'm a student and I was involved with the event, and it's just exploded. What do you attribute the growth to?
Really, just the inherent nature of it and the interest level. There's not anything quite like it. It's such a community-oriented situation where you get students that went through it that 3, 4, 5 years ago. They've now gone out into industry, and they're bringing their companies in. They're bringing the word. So they're coming back. They're volunteering as mentors. They're on the white team. They're on the red team. They're helping to build the system. So that, more than anything, has helped the growth of it. There's a huge demand for competitions among computer security students. There's not a whole lot of ways that they can get together and compete against each other. They cannot get enough of this sort of thing. So that's part of it. And then you have that alumni association that's helping it grow now.
You're right. So the winners of the national event,
yes.
What did they receive? We were speculating iPad, trip to Disney World.
Yeah, we'll see. Some of that's a little bit classified. There's obviously the, you win the Alamo Cup. It's named after, of course, we're in San Antonio, Texas, named after the Alamo, your Defenders. So they'll win the Alamo Cup. They keep that as well as the title of national championship for the year. We have certain prize packages that we give them and offer to them throughout the year. And then the other thing about it is if you, the interest in the students that come to these events is very, very strong. So the national winners typically get 3, 4, 5 very, very lucrative job offers from government, commercial entities that are looking for kids with this kind of talent.
That's excellent.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Excellent. So you travel to a lot of these regional events, and of course you're involved with the national,
right.
And not all of the regional events, as we said, there's
Correct.
some overlap in scheduling. So what are some of the craziest things you've ever seen at some of these events?
Yeah, actually some of the craziest things actually happened at this regional. This is one of the most inventive and creative ones. So like last year they did or 2 years ago they did RFID badges that were part of the play system. They did a power meter type system. This year they're doing the dispensary. You see a lot of interesting things with the red team in terms of how they break into a team and some of the engineering techniques, both social engineering and technical engineering of how they collaborate together and work to get into the team systems.
That's excellent.
So it's very interesting.
Dwayne, thank you very much
My
for coming
pleasure.
on the show.
Thanks for
it was
having
nice
me.
meeting you.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Now we're going to go to John in the blue team area.
Hey, thank you very much, Paul. I'm sitting here with Brian from Howard University. We're trying to go through and interview as many people as possible, and I can't tell you the exact scores right now because there's blue team people here with us. But needless to say, they're right in the thick of it. It's a very, very tight ground, very, very tight round going forward. So a couple of things that I'd like to ask you is, what were you surprised with when you first showed up today? Was there anything that was just like, oh, God, it's broken, I need help?
Yeah, there were a lot of extra servers that we had to deal with that weren't documented yet. We had trouble getting into the main firewall first, but...
Now, what trouble were you having getting into the main firewall? Was it user ID password issues? Did the red team beat you? Was it unplugged? What do you mean?
Yeah, actually the red team did get in first.
They did.
So we had to reset the password and
Very
kick
good
them
call.
back out. So.
Very good call. Now, what about the business injects? How are you guys handling the business injects? Because that's going to be critical.
Yeah, we're actually catching up on business injects right now.
Okay, so you aren't ignoring any of them? You are trying to make sure that you get through all of them today?
Yeah, if we have access to the resources, we are completing the injects. It's just a matter of having the right processes set up at the same time the injects come in.
Very cool. So overall, what is the services that you have, your critical services, do you have them all up, or are you still in the process of bringing some of them up? So where are you at there?
Yes, the critical processes are back up. We're starting to secure them for the end of today's competition, and yeah, so.
So have you filed any incident reports? Have you seen any indications or proof that you've been compromised that you can then turn into the white cell and allow them to try to deal with it?
We're starting to look through the logs so we can start building a case for writing an incident report. You need an incident before you can write the report, so we need some proof.
Yeah, you got to have that proof. You just can't fill out the report and hand it in and expect them to do anything. However, if you do fill it out and you do have proof, you can arrest the person, or the white cells will arrest it. We've already arrested one person. So hopefully you guys get an opportunity to do that at some point today, because it's very justifying whenever that happens. So we're going to throw it back up to Paul, who I believe has another interview with some people that are near and dear to my heart, Larry, and of course, Darren from Paul.com Security Weekly. They're going to talk more about the badges. Paul, back to you.
Thanks, John. Larry's actually under the... no, never mind. I don't know where Larry went. We lost him. But we're here with Darren Wiggly, who, of course, participated in the making of the badge and medical dispensary system, which we've talked about, wearing the snazzy lab coat that we have here. Very nice. It's a little... Is that blood? Never mind.
Little dry blood.
Little dry blood. Very nice. So how is the medical dispensary inject going? I heard you actually... So the deal was... Everyone's got this medical dispensary. They scan a barcode. If it's authorized, they get to take medication out, and you're keeping track of the medication that's coming out as well?
Yeah, we're so they have these boxes that are barcode secured, and their badges have the barcodes that can open them. So one team can't open up another team's, and red team wasn't supposed to be open theirs, but that never works out that way.
It never
was designed that way.
Now, do you scan the medication as it comes out as well?
No, because it's just pieces of candy.
Gotcha.
And so Snickers bars and things of that nature that they can take out if they so choose to, but they really should probably keep track of that, as they'll see in the future.
Gotcha.
Then red team can come along, and if they've found a way to compromise the boxes, they can take candy out as well that they don't know about.
It has an 802.11 based wireless access point on it.
Not access point, but a wireless
controller.
Client.
Oh, I gotcha. It's a client.
Yep, it's a client.
I gotcha. That's awesome. That's awesome.
And it's serving up a web page, and that's something that we didn't tell the students about. So it would simulate something that their pharmacy has bought and put onto their environment, and they're coming into this not knowing anything about it. They didn't have to approve the purchase, and here it sits on their network, and they've got to now take care of it. So
what happens if Casey eats all of the candy before the close of ceremonies today, which I think is a very likely scenario?
It is possible, and it's his candy, so he can kind of do whatever
he
can
wants
eat it
with
if he wants.
Right.
We're just gonna have to go out and buy more. On his credit card.
Gotcha. Very nice. Very nice. Very nice. Right now, we are going to wrap things up. So, Darren, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We look forward to hearing more on how the medical dispensaries and candy eating is going, and I can't wait for the unveiling to see exactly how everything worked. I know you guys are kind of being holding back some of the details as not spoil it for the competition, which is great, but I can't wait to hear about all the details. So, thanks, Darren.
Thank you.
And we will be back one more time at the top of the hour to conclude the ceremonies and event for today. Not the ceremony, but the game and event for today. We'll be back at 5 o'clock with one final update, primarily focused on scoring, and not like that, Darren. Thank you very much.